Yeah, so if I know it's about noon and I hold this at the level, this mark here is what I've found to be noon when I've tested this, and that'll be north. So that's true north that way. And solar noon, this is the moment. This is 12:06. So 12:06, if I did my trigonometry, I could figure out, if I compared this, the shadow length with the stick height, I get the tangent of that.
But only on February 19th.
Well, today's going to be close to it since it's only 41. It's 41 degrees. But on the 19th, it's going to be 45-degree angle. So that means that anything the sun hits casts a shadow the same height as that. Because angle is incidence. You know, do you remember geometry?
A little bit.
And so an equilateral, well, a right triangle that has the upright and the other, no, if A and B are equal, then it's a 45-degree angle. So that will happen here at latitude 34 on the 19th of February.
So there is a solar noon every day.
Yeah.
But only once a year will, at solar noon, the shadows be the same length as the object.
Twice a year. Yeah, twice a year.
So today at latitude 34,
Yes,
So we're at
on February 7th,
it's 41 altitude.
41.
It's working its way it's a little less than a quarter of a degree a day
okay.
that it's working its way up. And so, like, it works out like this.
And that's going to help you also find true north?
Yes, well, it does, and it also, I can figure out my latitude by what day of the year. My stick height and the shadow height are the same.
Colin, I want to learn from you.
And so like this, the sun does not just go overhead. In fact, it'll never be directly overhead here. The closest to overhead it gets here is 79.5 degrees. But it'll be 47 degrees less than that on December 21st. So the sun is actually coming up in the winter. It comes up way south, and it just goes up to 32.5 and then back down. But I've been watching it each day get higher and higher in the sky. And so it's going to keep getting higher until the 21st of June. It's going to be
21st of June, it'll be at its highest point.
correct.
Which means, how long does it take for get to the hottest point again? What did you call that?
Yeah.
The hottest point of the year is like a month and a half after?
A month and a half after, because the solar energy takes about a month and a half to generate all the cloud patterns, the climate patterns.
So it gets up to
currents.
79.5 degrees? Right now it's only at 41, but it's going to go like twice that?
Correct. Yeah.
And so in June it'll be right there.
Correct. It's just 10.5 degrees off of straight overhead.
Wow.
But where I lived in the tropics, there would be 2 days a year that it'd be precisely overhead. And one day I was asked to help this first grade teacher teach her class about solar movement. Well, she happened to ask me for the 16th of April. Well, that's the day at latitude 7 that it's precisely overhead. So I pulled out my magnifying glass, and the kids they got to hold the magnifying glass, and they held it over just regular grass, and it just burst into flame. It didn't bother with smoldering and smoking. It just burst into flame.
So
Oh boy, they'll
overhead?
never forget that lesson. Yeah, it was so much fun. So on the 23rd of August and on the 16th of April would be our hottest time, or the most intense solar, or what we call insolation.
Because it's a month and a half after the sun was at its highest point.
The month and a half after is when the generated effect of all that heat catches up with it. And that's when we get our typhoons. And so here, our winter, we've already passed the furthest away that the sun has been.
Yeah.
But we're still getting cold. And the same thing happens in Alaska or
it takes
anywhere
time
else.
for
to set in motion the currents of the air and the water.
Because of how far away the sun is?
It's just because the transfer, it's the conduction properties of water and air.
Yeah.
So how well do they conduct or radiate and retain heat?
February 19th.
Yes, so February 19th at 12:06.
Are you gonna be at Paola that day? Is that a...
It's a Tuesday, yes.
Tuesday.
I'm planning on it.
Yes!
I'm watching for it.
So February 19th at noon.
Yeah, and so
I will come find you.
I want to measure the height of this tree. I can already get a good guess.
You're just gonna measure by
What's your guess? What's your guess?
Oh, I mean if I pace it.
Well, what's your guess right
my
now?
guess right now? 38 feet.
the tip of the tree?
Yeah.
All right. Is it too late for us to test it now?
Let's try it. Okay. So you pace it off and I'll pace it off and I'll show you all.
What's the...
We're going to calculate it now.
Okay.
So I paced off 12 paces to it. Now we've got two factors to consider in. That is, it's got some height from the raised ground here, and we aren't quite up to a 45-degree angle. So, but still considering those, what I do is I know my pace. I've measured airstrips. I go exploring, and I've filled in map areas that weren't explored before, and my steady pace is 1.5 meters.
Okay.
So 12 times 1.5 would be what?
18?
Good.
18.
Yeah, so it's 18 meters. 18 meters. 3 times 18 would be what?
3 times 18 would be
54.
So it's taller than I was saying. And I'm glad. See, I always like to underestimate, because when I tell people I climbed a 217-foot tree, they don't quite believe it. And so I'd rather say it's a little lower than that, but I have done that.
So, on solar noon, did you take into account the raised ground?
No, okay, so let's take off. So we came up with how many feet?
54.
54, that would be if it was a straight yard. But for meters, it's 1.24.
Yeah.
So take another quarter.
Would the raised ground make it longer?
Yes.
Okay. So it could be more towards like 53 or 52?
Yeah, so my guess is that on that day, we are going to be closer to 40, 45. 40 or 45.
It's going to vary that much?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, because you think of it this way. Okay, I'm here. The shadow is coming at a low angle here. I've got a long shadow. It's like when you watch the sunset. You've got a really, really long shadow.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember asking my dad this when I was 4.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, why is my shadow so long? And he told me this stuff.
So if you're under 45, you got long shadow. If you're over 45, you got short shadow. If you're directly ahead, you got no shadow.
We got it. Yeah.
And so way low is going to be boom, fellas.
And a lot of times when I'm hiking or riding a bike, I navigate by my shadow. It's really fun knowing my time and knowing the progression and regression of the sun along the horizon. I can tell which direction I'm going. And there are certain streets here that I'm certain days, I will precisely be riding in my shadow. It is so much fun. It is so precise that my pedals are separate from the bike shadow.
Really?
It is really great. So stage, that will be in March. I'll be riding on stage there in March, and it's perfect. I'm just laughing as I ride. It's so much fun.
Any closing, I'm gonna stop the recording. Any
Okay.
closing words about the whole thing?
God is orderly. I follow an orderly God. He's ordered my steps, and I don't know where they're going, but they're orderly and they'll be beautiful.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Uncle Lloyd, you wanna hang out, find Solar Noon, and talk about John on Tuesday?
Next week, Tuesday, or
Yeah.
the next one?
Well, when February? Wait, is next week February 19th?
So it's,
Oh, that's what Tuesday is now.
yeah.
Well, you want to do that this Tuesday anyway?
Okay. As far as I know, let's check my schedule.
Okay.
So,
Are these still meeting with kids?
yeah, so I've got someone coming in. I've got someone, 30 minutes.